Alright, so Run, Hide, Fight is the very first feature film from the Daily Wire, from the Conservatives' Daily Wire, which is co-founded by Ben Shapiro. And Run, Hide, Fight was written and directed by Kyle Rankin, and it stars Thomas Jane, Radha Mitchell, and Isabel May. And basically what this film is the inside exploitation of a school shooting based around three white terrorists, and they ransack a school, have a big, basically cliche, story-driven, terroristic shooting plot, and it involves one of the girls sneakily and smartly crafting ways to get around their motives and take them down. And basically, the trailer of this film set it up to be like a three-part storyline. She would run, then she would hide, and then she would fight. So the trailer, for me, seemed illogical by the end, because it was basically a teenage girl in high school that's being shot up, and she started to run, then she started to hide, and then when she finally got out of the school, she turned around and felt the need to fight. That's not this film. This film is basically spanning all three of those and putting them all together cohesively inside of the film all at once and all in its running time. So the good things I can say about Run, Hide, Fight is that it's very well made, very well produced, very well polished. This looks like a great film. The subject matter is a very touchy subject matter that not many filmmakers have really ever delved into, nor have we experienced. There are some points in the characters as well as the plot that I deem quite logical and smartly written. And the performances are mostly solid. Sometimes cringeworthy, but mostly solid. And essentially that's really the only good things I have to say about Run, Hide, Fight. Outside of those positive things, Run, Hide, Fight's biggest flaw is the outdated logic of it and just the agenda-fueled writing. So every single time that some character would say something stupid along the lines of "stay woke," it was just conservatives trying to scream, "You're an idiot," to everybody that doesn't look at their viewpoints the way that they do. And my biggest issue with the plot itself is another conservative aspect is school shootings are wrong, which, yes, I condemn school shootings, but that's where they leave it off at. They don't look at why it happened, okay? They literally just say, oh, school shooting happened, and I condemn that. Okay, and that's it. Let's just toss it away, and that's all there is to it. No, okay? If we want to proceed and progress in the future as a full society, we need to come together and understand that there are psychological values that we can learn from these experiences. And yes, in due part to and from the school shooters. Okay, these are things that people think are wrong, but you have to assess the fact that school shootings happen because kids are mistreated in some way, shape, or form. Okay, that's a fact. This is not a personal opinion, it is a fact. Mental illness stems sometimes from how people are treated in their life. Sometimes mental illness, it just happens to them. But then other times it's how other people treat them and their perception on how they're treated. Okay, and by the end of the film, I will say that a lot of the faults I had in the logic, especially in the character logic, they made up for some of them by the end of the film, because they made some characters a little more redeemable, but essentially, right at face value, right in the moment, how they were trying to exploit school shooters, and they would give their exposition, which would be, you know, being bullied and being a narcissist, and it all just culminating together into basically right-wingers just passing it off as just excuses, don't shoot up schools, which I agree. Nothing, absolutely nothing condones a school shooting. But leaving it off right at that and then moving on is unacceptable as well, okay? You need to understand that there are psychological values that need to be had in any kind of countrywide epidemic like this, like school shootings, just terroristic acts in general. If they are American citizens, we should be able to hold them accountable, arrest them, but also understand what they went through beforehand, what they were going through at the time, and their penance afterwards, okay? And then use those values and lessons that we achieve and learn from their personal story and use them to help and aid the future. But conservatives don't want to think that way, and to me, that's wrong. Another giant flaw in the logic of run, hide, fight is the outdated concept of schools, and also just the illogical plotting of the school shooting itself. So I'll start off with a giant van rams and runs itself into a whole entire wall in a school's cafeteria, and literally the only people that know of it and even hear of it are the people in just said cafeteria, despite it being in a giant building of a school. That's very illogical. They only ever know about it when the girl, the main character girl, goes around telling and screaming at everybody that there's a school shooting happening. Okay, that wouldn't happen. A school runs, or a van runs into a school's wall, everybody's gonna hear it. At the very least, everybody's gonna feel it. Okay, that's so illogical. Another big gripe I have with the logic in run, hide, fight is the outdated concept of how schools are ran. I agree that the school system and faculty definitely need more improvement in the future and for the future. But to have the mentality that schools aren't set up with stricter security is very faulty. Maybe a few schools still in this country don't have cameras or anything, but I can personally tell you right now, I've gone to schools to visit siblings and whatnot, and it's a hassle just to unexpectedly surprise them. Okay, say for example, I went to my previous high school a couple years ago, and just to get a feel around, like see the faculty again. Well, what happened was I went to the front door, and it used to just be you could just pull it open, walk right in. Now I pull it open and it completely locks. You have to push a button. There's a camera on the wall where the button is. There's a camera up on the ceiling. They look at you in both directions. And instead of unlocking the door and familiarizing themselves with who you are, they speak out through the intercom of the doorbell. And they say, "Yes, what do you want? May I help you?" And only then, after you give them personal information and they run it through, only then do they allow you in, and then you have to strictly stay in the office and where teachers are and where security is. Okay, so the fact that they make a film called Run, Hide, Fight in 2021, where a van runs into a school's cafeteria wall and there's no security, there's nobody outside of the room to be like, "Oh, I heard something," or "Oh my God, what happened?" It's all illogical. It's faulty logic. It's bad. And that's my biggest problem with conservatives, is the fact that I feel like they don't know how to progress. Like, I agree. I agree with the big fight against the whole stay woke crowd. I agree with that. But to me, seeing people that are in the woke crowd, instead of just nothing them, I would actually learn and observe from them. Or I guess observe them and learn from what I've observed. And to me, that's how you progress in a healthy, positive way and for a healthy, positive future. Unfortunately, conservatives have a complete 180 different opinion on that. They, I guess, believe that condemning everything and just nothing it means it's obsolete and just keep going on in life. Screw whatever just happened, and that's wrong, and that alone is irredeemable at a fault. Again, I'm going to reiterate. These kind of experiences, which I condemn school shootings, but these kind of experiences are also experiences that are forced onto us as learning examples. Like, learn from it. Learn who the person is that performed a school shooting. Learn what they had to go through prior. That way you can help donate to school foundations and school systems to get more psychological evaluations and more psychologists in there. That way they can be more attuned with who the students are, not just dismissing them as, oh, you're a bad egg, get out of here, you're never going to amount to anything. And that's another part that they bring up in this film, which I do like that they brought that up with one of the teachers, but they killed him off and then they just completely dismissed that. And I'm sorry, but it's all about learning and growing. You have to learn from tragic events in order to grow. That is human anthropology at its finest. That's just life. That's a fact. Okay? That's just logical. So all in all, for me, Run, Hide, Fight, it's not terrible, but it's also not the greatest thing ever, especially for conservatives, in my opinion. Like, conservatives, for me, they should start learning about the New World. And while I agree but also disagree with the New World, it's still the world we live in. And you can't just live back in how you grew up. You have to learn and adapt. Okay? You have to understand the human climate. So all in all, for me, Run, Hide, Fight is a 6 out of 10. Thank you.